Let's bow our heads in prayer. Heavenly Father, we are so fortunate and blessed to worship a God like you. We invite you at this time, and we need your presence and your guidance. We need the Holy Spirit to be with us, especially me as I relay your message of love to your people, as a reminder of the days we are living in. I hope and pray, Lord, that you will richly bless this time and the occasion that comes together with it as we commemorate what you have done for us. Kaya minsan may wawi nakikituran. Kaya minsan hindi wawi nakatakan namin yung buhay ka namin mga tuwali. Sa totoo na ganun ang buhay naman ito mata, na itabi ng garabi. Wasi wayaw, na yung garabi na itukutuko naman tayo ni kuwa. Yan naman niya na yalalo na kalu, muna ganun naman kaya masakyan naman ito mata. Kaya mga garabi kayo ni wakang ano kawan na kita, yan nakukuchiso ni Bambula. As we listen, as we sing the topic of today's lesson, can we repeat that together? 2, 3. Listen. Listen. There's two words that sometimes we mix the two words together. That is, hear and listen. The difference between the two. To hear something and to listen at what is said or what has been said. Okay, we'll break this word listen in as we relate this to the dictionary. Listen, that is to concentrate on hearing something, and heed or pay attention. Heed or pay attention. Most of us in the days we live, the generation that we are part of, that we are blessed to come and fellowship with the generation, we are very poor listeners, but we are very good hearers. Very poor listeners, but very good hearers. Dasantun makaman tu nangauna, abar bagisar na iwalo. Sa sibia na nonda wararongo, siya na vital nota ka na kahit tukudi, may wana ka nonda reda na detail li kahit tukudi. Na bulan da sang bulan kina. And what is the difference between the words hear and listen? I picked this up from a book that I've been reading. Every one of us have a family member who hears you but doesn't listen to you. Every family member, every family here has a member that hears you but doesn't listen to you. Hey, come on, son. What are you doing now? Are you listening to me? Yes, Dad. And kept on playing with the PlayStation or whatever you were doing. And then after that, are you hearing me? Yes, Dad. So what did I say? Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't hear you. Church members today, you are doing the same thing and you're repeating the same thing towards your God, the God you believe in, the God you think you worship. And the Sahabati Koya, we are falling back and we are failing in a lot of ways. And this is it. The physical, note that the physical activity of sound perceived with their ears, but they don't listen. They don't listen. Responding by this is how they respond. Hey, are you listening to me? Yeah? Oh, are you okay? All right? Okay, here we go. Now, what did I say? Oh, I wasn't listening. Mothers and fathers, parents, children alike. And it also deals with the church members. Sometimes we hear the message. You hear the message from up here, but we are not paying attention to the detail that comes up with the message so that we can relate it to our own individual lives. And that's why sometimes the message is maybe good for someone else, not for you, even though you're sitting here this morning. Because listening is a more conscious activity than just hearing. Listening, you have to actually pay attention to what the person is saying, not just perceive sound, and that is the difference. Oh, what's that sound? He'll ask, what you hearing? Oh, it sounds like an aeroplane. But instead of looking outside you, in your own ear, and what you're hearing, you know it's an aeroplane. You can put it into detail what aeroplane looks like or what airplane company is flying up there. So the God that we worship is trying to remind us this morning, there's a special commemoration thing that will happen this morning. If only you understand the particulars, the detail of everything that we were supposed to be involved in the commemoration ceremony this morning. And they said, in Isaiah, if you all can open the book to a book of Isaiah, I don't have much time, but because the message today is from the table with the Passover meal. Isaiah chapter 48, verse 17. If you read the first verse, we came on the voltam vaiviti na Isaiah na wasya vasang bulkawalu and na tikinetin kavitu. Isaiah vasang bulkawalu tikinetin kavitu. Salorai, kira mitono ilikabata, rua tol. Voltam vaiviti, rua tol. Ko iau ko tsova na anomu naksin. Okay. Rawan satu na sarto ng pamatato ko anak kato sarungo da tikungo. That's what we're hearing. Atu na tikumo ko ngo sa kaiba kaungo ko tsova. This is what God said. Nanomu iba kambula ko na yalo sa sabani Israel. Rongo da na bosa. He identify himself through this. Ko iau ko tsova na nomu kalo. Kau sa baka bulidi ko mo pinakakina. Tarawa, kau tumberi ko ena sala molako. Sala molakoba. Okay, let's read. First, the next verse, verse 18. In the King James Version. Iyo. Sengke wotinga mai dakia na kai tukuni. O koe lo tukuni tiku wana ka, he doesn't get the message. He doesn't. Mai dake ena volatan wawalang e tukuni. Ni sengke wotinga no vosa na kalau sabada. Sengke wotinga no vosa na kalau ena tikine tin kavitu. Was tin kavitu tukuno koe. Thus said the Lord, thy Redeemer, the Holy One of Israel, I am the Lord thy God, which teacheth thee to profit, which leadeth thee by the way that thou shouldest go. Just straight after that, on the second verse. Oh, that thou hadst hearkened to my commandments, then had thy peace be a river, and thy righteousness as the waves of the sea. Rito ko na totolo ni nonda vesa o levi kemundi na luvenda, vi kemundi na tata botikin na. We are hearing things, but we are not paying attention to the detail. Right? Not paying attention to the details. Okay, let's go to the next one. Maybe you heard this before, but are you paying attention to what was said here? Maybe you heard it before. Right? Rather than Matthew no wasitin katol, wasitol. Matthew no wasitol can refer to that book, because I'll be referring it in Fijian. Matthew chapter 3. Maybe you heard this one before, but let's read it again, so that we'll try to understand what we hear and try to see what God is trying to tell us. Matthew no wasi tolu tikinetin katolu. Rongata na katuna ko ya ruotol. Sangai lako mai kalili ko tisu kinutsori tani bechoni me papte usutaki wa. Asaka sa via taro wa kotsoni kakaya sadawa. Koe ke muni. Iyo. Tiga netin kalima. Tin ko ono. Ronga talen doon uli kaya ni. E ke pakao sa wena wa mundo sa ka ko yauna turanga kai boko wuli. Santon dono talenga mundo wiyawa. Yo sulia en doon e wakarau we ke mundo kita kan be bakakosala ba. That's a pattern. And what you're going to pattern on Nangarabana, this is how he is worshipped. Nakalo Nangaramatungo, you cannot worship him the way you want to worship. You worship him according to what he wants us to worship, through his words. Fangatan was to know Choni, Turanga Ocean and Dono mo papus the Kimuni. O Kimuni Dono mo papus the Gil. Fangatan Nakatuno Chisu sang. Go and do an aka and don't do no melaka. Eh? Ronga na bosa tukuno ko ya tso ni wasi tin kabana tikine ono ruo tolu tso ni wasi tin kabana tikine ono John 14:6 Adotor, we are not paying attention. We are not paying attention. Tukuno ko ya, I'm the way, the truth, and the life. You don't make your own way here to come to church and worship him the way you want. You just bring your own ideas and you try to come and worship here with God, the God of the universe, who is in charge of this house and the members of this house. If we are failing to follow the pattern, a time will come when we worship God through our own ideas. And that will be collateral. And the Sandono Mangon Donangona, Level Weekend and the Sabinaka and the Mingaravanakalou and the Nogwakasama. And the Vinakatamemengaravanakalo, not paying attention to the detail of the words you use and how you use it. You are not paying attention. Rather go, the Israeli, on our Sabbath school lesson this morning as adults, right? God was talking to the people of Israel. They heard him talk, but they failed to listen. That's why 40 years they spent in that wilderness. They were stranded in that wilderness because they failed to pay attention to the detail and the wording of his word and how he applied it and how he want Moses to apply the words to his people. And they failed. The generation that started the journey from Egypt towards the land of Canaan, they failed. They lost their lives. And most of the young people in those days, they lost their loved ones. I hope and pray that no one who is listening this morning in the message will not lose your way waiting for the land that God has promised us. God always reminds his people of how they were supposed to worship him. He always reminds his people. He always encourages these people. And the most important and the best thing about the God we worship, he himself mentioned it. I am the way. Not the church. Not the pastor. We don't worship nobody else here. We don't worship ideas. We don't worship opinion of men. That's why this church is a very peculiar church. Because they worship the God of the universe the way he wants us to worship him. On John 14:6 and on Matthew chapter 16 verse 24. Whoever remembers this verse. Matthew chapter 16 verse 24, 2-3. Okay. Nangaravikalo in the same bakunondege. Atoro. Lots of things we are hearing now. That's why we are so stubborn, getting very stubborn when we come to worship God. Ito ni bango nangono sa hatuni kina unto nakaya sa murong karapot sandun unto usoli. Sandun na kami nalita ni maaka. Doon ni wasi ni mata rito kumi wararep ni maaka. So pay attention to the detail of how God institute of his character on the 10 commandments, how he placed the commandments. From 1 to 10, how he placed them. Pay attention. Go and read it at home. Make that your homework. Read it. Pay attention. A lot of us as Christians, as believers of this God, the God of the universe, we may be keeping the whole 10 commandments, but we are missing a few very vital ones. The vital ones is where the commandments start from. The first commandment, what does the Bible say on the first commandment? 2, 3. Kako we kuna kaluta ni kuya mundo. What's the second one? Do not make unto yourself any graven image. Natoro, kiandongo yanda sa mistakati kuna pattern. We're missing the pattern of the pattern on the bit you gonna kilo na was me apply ta ki wana na banana ni ko. Me baka sa tukuna wana buno tiko bale wana bosongo. Na banana nongo. If we fail to listen, we'll fail to hear. Fail to listen, fail to pay attention, you'll fail at what you are hearing. Matoro, sonongon ng tabi bosek tungango, adang itu mes alebi sorbi bint alno siapa tahu. Ndonongon yang tabi tungango, hey, ada rubi talno takaroya. Kono to sini kala, I don't know. What are they talking about? I don't know. And what are you doing? Yeah, I heard them talk, but I don't understand what they're talking about. Some of us will be sitting here today, have no idea of why we worship God today. Why we have to believe in this God now? Why? We are running out of time. We are left with a little option. You have to make your time. Make time and make room now. If you don't have a space, make room to come and worship God. Rumah bosa tu kuno koe na wasia tu kuno koe kepa kain dona tamata sabe muria me kako ni muria na dau. Kako ni muria na lamana. Na tamata ke no tu kuno bosa ngo. Na amake de mai garbe na kalu na tamata lewai. E dictate taka weekend lama lagi ni baron non garbe koe. E dictate taki. Nanon di baron ni garbe koe. But you have to pay attention to the detail of how he dictates his message to his people. Right? Okay, read and go. We're failing in detail. Maybe you remember this verse. On Matthew chapter 5. Matthew chapter 5, go to Matthew chapter 5, verse 23. Matthew chapter 5, verse 23. I got the second last one. Remember, I am not concluding this sermon. The sermon and the message is here. All right? Okay, Matthew chapter 5, verse 23, 2, 3. Okay. Reto ngonta sa wili ka tingo, baka dirlo mo na kena wiliki. Wala mo na kena baka maana aki. Baka daw. Today is not the time for you to come and confuse or confess here. Kakete medaka during the week. Everything has to be happening during the week. Today is Thanksgiving Day. You come and give him praise and glory for everything that he did for each and every one of us sitting here today. We are failing because we are not following the pattern. We are hearing the message, but we are not listening. This is the only Bible chapter and verse where God said, now go back, don't worship me today. Go back. That's the only passage. Go back. Right? And this is it. We heard this before, but we are not paying attention. Some of us will miss the blessing of today because we are not paying attention to the detail of the matter that matters to God. Tolak somo. Tukono ko na boso ko na madi no wasi and Ezekiel. Okay, we go to Ezekiel. Ezekiel chapter 3, verse 20 and 21. Ezekiel chapter 3, verse 20 and 21. Are you there? Let's read this together. 2, 3. Nico? Iya? Okay. Kaya naman ako. Dos ada kapin doon ka. Oy ko sinala ko. When someone committed sin, you didn't go there to correct him. He's a participant in any ministry, but you don't turn up and remind him of what he's doing is wrong. Sa sinawanan numi ko ya. At matungori, kung nakakita na kapamo ko, no title and no status comes to nothing. Comes to nothing. Back to square one. Kakita na dolore de kina, comes to nothing. Ike baka el non nambula, ko sini baka salte ko, non nambula na torgi ko. kimundo na wakang. Dabi wakan itingo, dabi nandiba kiti ko sa badaw. Kakuen songoto nang uso mo sa rete doon kay sin doon medaka. Mogi ngalutiko. Take takaba. Follow this pattern. This is the pattern. Rongo na katuno ko iya na senga ni nanumi na nona iwala ndonu sa takabo ko ko. O tipo kandua. Kipa kandua vanita you have to reconfirm this in the New Testament. You go to James 2:10. Go to James 2:10. Let's see if James continue reminding the people about how important that passage is. James 2:10, sabi tuno ko. Rua tol. Wakar kambi wali unan rindu. Ka? Okay, reta ko may pararotag. Isa dalay nandun ni bunaw, o sa ibalbala tayo ni bunaw tudok. Kaya na buna daka kinapaptaiso. Yan hindi na pattern. We're missing this pattern. Esini nakay ko nakaba, you declared publicly. Right? Oh, I'm doing this. I'm committing fornication. I'm committing adultery. Okay. But there's only one way here. Baptism. Rangotan was. If I can't do not matter, Samaro and Buno to the Koval Dakin and Dua, back to the order, back to square one. Sing them maybe Kiriki and loot. See what? We don't beg people to come and worship God. You beg God to come and worship Him. You beg God to allow you to worship Him. Not me. No good. Just to remind you that we're dealing with the God that is, maybe John related better than anyone else. On John 14:6, what did Revelation 14:6 say? And then I saw what angel? Come on. Ia kau gereda in dua tala nang ilosi sabadawa. Bukan mali wala laki wala malangi ura tau satu kuno ko. Okay. And what is the message? Okay. We heard this from John. John is relating what he saw. This is what I saw. This is what I heard. An angel was flying in the midst of heaven and the earth. And the message is, what's the message? Fear God and give Him glory. So the angel is relating the message from God and passing it to John. So we heard the message from John. We didn't listen to the message. Even now we're still not listening. You're running out of time. Majority of us are not listening. Fear God and give Him glory. When you come to worship God, you give Him all the glory. Come with a consecrated heart and love for this man, Jesus, the Son of God, who gave His life to each and every one of us. We are not paying attention. We are not listening properly. Our failure begins from not hearing. Right? A lot of us are hearing the message but not paying attention to what was detailed in the message. Okay, this is a story. And after the story, kautan we na nagtalodongo, anda na bito sa kaya naman na suka kami sa Santiago na nadagalakan ni Sacramento ni Bibuyaw ngunuin. This is a story said but so very true. After dinner, are you listening, children? This story can be you and can be mom and dad. After dinner, a teacher started checking homework done by her students. Most of the teachers, they do their homework at home, marking up the lessons. Her husband is strolling around with a smartphone. So who is this one? First the teacher, now the husband. Her husband is strolling around with a smartphone playing his favorite game, Candy Crush Saga. A father and you playing this? Hey? You still play PlayStation? I think there's something wrong. You're supposed to pay attention more to what the detail of the story is. You listen. When reading the last homework note, his wife starts crying with silent tears. Her husband saw this and asked, "Why are you crying, dear? What happened?" Her husband saw the wife. "Yesterday I gave homework to my first standard students to write something on the topic, my wish." On the topic, my wish. Husband said, "Okay, but why are you crying?" Wife, "Today while checking the last note, it made me cry." Husband curiously, "What's written in the note that makes you cry?" The wife said, "Listen." Are you hearing me? The wife said, "Listen. My wish," that's this young boy's wish. Listen. "My wish is to become a smartphone." I haven't finished. "My wish is to become a smartphone. My parents love the smartphone very much. They care about the smartphone so much that sometimes they forgot to care about me, paying attention to a detail. We're failing to hear, and we're losing the interest of our children, even the church members, the youth, and our children today are losing their faith in us because we fail to pay attention and detail of the matter that matters to him. They care about their smartphone so much that sometimes they forgot to care for me. When my father comes from the office tired, he has time for his smartphone, but not for me. When my parents are doing some important work and smartphone is ringing, within a single ring they attended to the phone, but not me. They play games on their smartphone, but not with me. When they are talking to someone on their smartphone, they never listen to me. Even if I'm telling them something very important, they will never listen. My wish is to become a smartphone. After listening to the note, my husband got emotional and asked the wife, "Who wrote this?" And the wife said, "It's your son." Mothers and fathers, some of your children there, they just need your time. They need you more than you need them. They need you more than a smartphone. If only you're paying detail, they have their needs, and we have to attend to them. Gadgets are beneficial, but they care for our ease, not to cease the love amongst family and loved ones. Children see and feel everything that happens around them, things that get imprinted on their mind with an everlasting effect. Let's take due care so that they do not grow with any false impression, and please pay attention to the detail while listening and hearing. Ano nang tukutuku ng mutani ko? Ang utingo sana visuret na tosarain biar tunu turara ana waruta kaya natagalagan di sakrament yang tenang karabat ko.